This is a Cooper's hawk that came to my bird bath about I think it's been 4 years now. She when she first arrived, she was in juvenile colors, which is, and then I watched her over the year to molt into adult colors, and her eyes changed from um, yellow to uh, red with orange, and a very beautiful bird. I say she because she is 22 inches head to tail, end of tail, and the males are much smaller. Um, she arrives at the crack of dawn for a drink. She only arrives in the summer, crack of dawn for a drink, and then she'll go off immediately and come back in about 30 to 60 minutes, and she'll rest for 30 to 40 minutes, and then she'll be off again, I assume, for a hunt, and then this repeats until I think she gets something to eat. And usually in the summer, she one or two hunting trips is all it takes, and then she's good for the day. So generally, she will be on that bird bath from like 9 a.m. until 6 or 7 p.m., just before dark. And she always heads off in the same direction, I think, to a tall pine tree to roost for the night. And I believe she's here all year because I hear the Cooper Hawks calling in the winter, and I see them around. I can't identify her. There are several. There's a male. One male showed up one time. There's a mesquite tree there in the background, and he sat in that, and she attacked. I don't look like she was attacking him. And sometimes she does perch in that tree, and then she flies from that tree to the bird bath, which is basically right toward me. So that's a really cool view. And she's about 10 feet from where I sit. And the first year she was here, I was doing programming. So all day long, me and her hanging out. It was so cool. And she does, I've seen her two times launch attacks for birds. And one was there was some rock pigeons across the street on the neighbor's lawn, which she could see in clear sight from the bird bath. And she was bobbing her head and getting all the coordinates right, I guess, in her head. She took off, but she didn't go directly toward them. She went real low to the ground, like a couple of feet off the ground, went across the street, and there was a hedge there. And then where the sidewalk is, and she basically followed the sidewalk, turned the corner like 90 freaking degrees at full speed, but below the 3 foot hedge, and then she made a left hand 90-degree turn through a hole in the hedge, and boom, she's right upon those pigeons. She knew exactly how to launch the attack. She didn't get one that time. And another one is another neighbor's lawn, and there you can't. She couldn't see the birds. Didn't know if there were any birds there or not. But she took off through there and went through a little. I didn't even know there was a hole in the hedge. It's right at ground level, maybe 2 feet high, 1 feet wide, smaller than her wingspan. And she went through that at full speed, which right on the other side of that hedge is a lawn where sometimes there might be some mourning doves or speckled doves uh, in the grass. And I think that's just something she does. She has a bunch of ambush points around her territory, and she just launches ambushes. And if there happens to be a bird there, then cool. I did see a Cooper's hawk once. I was walking and I saw a speckled dove on the ground. And a speckled dove is a tiny little, about half the size of a mourning dove, super fast, super agile, turn on a dime. And a Cooper's hawk was just cruising, not going fast, just cruising along. I don't know if she saw the dove or what the deal was. Just cruising along, got about 15 feet. She was heading near, not directly at this dove, but close, almost directly toward it. And she got about 15 feet from it, and this dove must have seen the hawk, and it took off. As soon as it took off, the, the hawk, a couple beats of the wing, pick up speed, and then a real quick turn, and grabbed that speckled hawk out of midair. Pretty impressive. And it was kind of funny that it started to rip the feathers off of that bird on the ground, but after a little while, that might have been a male, and took it up to, it was a housing unit, took it up to a ceiling, the roof, and was ripping apart, tearing the feathers off up there. And a guy who lives there was walking through there because he was right above it, and these feathers are slowly drifting down like snow onto this guy. He didn't know what was going on. It was pretty, but just impressive birds, just fearless. And a couple of times she's seen lizards running around on the ground while she's perched there, and she'll jump off the perch and run around on the ground on foot trying to catch these lizards. I assume maybe for fun, maybe it's a snack, I don't know. But they will run down prey on the ground. They just don't care. They just, if a prey's in the tree, they go in at full speed, and they got wings and legs that are so flimsy, but that's what they got to do for a living, I guess. Um, very, very impressive bird. So the first year she was there, she was a juvenile, and she just stood in the water. So that's about 2 inches deep for hours and hours and hours. And I was really kind of worried about her. I was like, "Is this a sick bird? Standing and soaking your feet can't be good for a hawk. They're not built for that." But apparently, it was no problem. But after that, she basically likes to mostly perch on the edge of that bird bath, which is it's solid copper, but it doesn't look very comfortable. So at one time, I built a perch for her right next to it, so she could stand there with artificial grass, wood with artificial grass over the top of it. She just ignored it. One time, after weeks and weeks of being there, I did see her walking around on it, but she didn't seem to. She didn't like it any. She preferred that metal. I don't know. Maybe it's a little cooler on her feet, and I think that's why she hangs out at that bird bath, is because there's water there, so it's a little bit cooler. I trimmed the trees, unfortunately, this spring, and it doesn't get shade until like 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So this year she hasn't been showing up to 2 o'clock. In the video, it shows her hopping around. She had just arrived. She was looking for a shady spot. She finally found it on the bird bath. Um, they definitely understand heat and dealing with heat. I've only seen her bathe in the bird bath a couple of times, and it's pretty funny. It's pretty awkward. She basically just likes to dip her butt into the water, and it's pretty violent type of thing. She does shake and stuff, but she doesn't really squat down into the water or roll in it or anything like that. She just seems to be liking to clean off her butt, and it's really quite violent. The water goes everywhere, and she's just blasting away in there, and then she gets out and just hangs out. Now, her head turns around all day long. She's always looking at things, looking up, looking at birds, looking at whatever. A couple of funny things. There was a couple of times when she seemed to doze off, and it looked like she was, well, it didn't look like she was. She was falling off the bird bath because she fell asleep. I don't think she can lock her feet onto it. And so she wakes up all startled. And she actually, I don't know, she looked embarrassed to me. Just not, it's like a bird that wants to appear cool at all times. Now, one time she was sitting there, and a little speckled dove came flying up to the bird bath to get a drink, and for some reason didn't notice there was a hawk standing there. And, she was on one side of the bath, and so this bird was 18 inches away from each other. And she just backed up her head and looked, tried to look a little bit taller, and like, what the heck, are you attacking me, or what's going on here? And the speckled dove finally figured it out and beat tracks off. That was one of one of the things I was wondering is she trying to keep other birds away from the water? But I don't think so. And I've never seen her attack birds on the bird bath. She never like tries to do an ambush at the bird bath. I'm sure she would if she wanted to, but I've just never seen it, which is a little bit surprising to me because when she's not there, there's almost always birds there. Starlings, um, white-winged dove, mourning doves, and ringneck doves, starlings, and a bunch of little birds. We have a bunch of tiny little birds, red ones, and of course house sparrows and starlings. Uh, Very fun bird. Fun summers, I'll tell you that. I spent just hours and days just sitting here watching her do absolutely nothing.